went into the conversation of, like, of course, Jalen Hurts is not on the level of Lamar Jackson, not on the level of Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, right? And then it goes into, this team he was carried by Saquon and the defense. And then, of course, you've heard this 100 times already in the last few weeks, if not the past few days. Put Josh Allen on this team. What happens? Super Bowl guaranteed. Lamar Jackson. And I push back on that because it's not played on paper.
No.
Like, that's where it starts and ends for me. Like, those are all great quarterbacks, and there will be plenty of time for us to talk about fantasy football. Jalen Hurts, pretty good fantasy player as well, top 5, top 6 this year. Like, there will be plenty of times for us to talk about that, ranking the quarterbacks. But this week, if you choose to go down that path, you're talking about players that never were able to do what Jalen Hurts just did. And that's the facts, and that's the end of the conversation. Again, you are going to step onto that rake, and it's going to hit you in the face. It's just the reality of where we're at. He's a Super Bowl champion quarterback. That don't bring up Trent Dilfer, like, because then I see through you. Don't bring up Brad Johnson, because I see through you. Like, Jalen Hurts for 3 straight years now has been at the top of his game, has been in MVP conversations. Did he have a great team this year? You're damn right. You're damn right. He had a great team. Saquon and the number one defense. It's only happened one other time in NFL history. It was the Cowboys in '92 that they had the number one rusher and the number one defense heading into the playoffs. The Eagles had that, and they won a Super Bowl. And Jalen Hurts played well when he had to do what he had to do in the NFC Championship game. He stepped up. The Super Bowl, if you needed him to be more aggressive and throw the football more, he was going to be fine and being able to do that. Stop it.
And the guy's a winner. Like, all through it all, he's a winner. And you know what really proved that he was a winner and how much he cares about winning and prioritizes winning? Did you watch the mic'd up version last night of that NFL Network had? And there was a billion clips going around. Did you watch that?
Look,
there was one moment where someone was handing or telling Jalen Hurts that he won the MVP. He was like Super Bowl MVP. And Hurts' response was Super Bowl champ. Like, that is a guy who cares more about winning than any individual athlete. A lot of athletes say that. A lot of them do. We've heard another athlete in this city who plays across the street from the link say that he cares about winning and championships more than MVPs. But we know that's not true by all of his actions. A lot of athletes say that. Very few actually live it. And Jalen Hurts lives that. He cares more about winning and winning Super Bowls than any individual accolade, any MVP, any statistic. That was proof in that moment. Maybe he remembered he was mic'd up. I'm sure he didn't. In that moment, he was told, you're the Super Bowl MVP. He said, I'm the Super Bowl champ. That was more important to him. Winning that football game, becoming a champion, was more important than any other individual accolade. And that's what he's always told us. And it's obviously true because the guy is a winner. All he does is win football games.
Yeah. And that was the biggest stage, gets the job done. And like I said to my man, Jeremy, I was like, man, it's just not a one deal thing, like one game thing to win a Super Bowl. It's just not.
No.
You have to put yourself in a position to get some home field. You have to put yourself in position to win the division first. Like, it's a long season to get to just to have the opportunity to play in the Super Bowl and then to win it. Of course, it's only one game, but there's so many things that go into that. So, I get it. Paper, there will be plenty of time for us to dissect and talk about fantasy football numbers and what quarterback you would prefer. But for me right now, like, and even Mark Henry Jr. said it yesterday in his show, and I just didn't feel like going back and forth. Like, no, the number one quarterback in the NFL right here, right now is Jalen Hurts. That's it.
Yeah, I don't want to go back and forth either. I'm obviously I don't necessarily agree with that. But look, I'm not going to argue it. We're Super Bowl champs. Like, yeah, whoever wins it is the best as far as I'm concerned.
How could you say that Mahomes is still the number one quarterback when there's only one champion? There's one Super Bowl champion at the end. But this is the week that you go, yes. Next week, different story. This week, sure.
Sure, I won't argue it. But what the Eagles showed us is that it is the ultimate team sport. And it doesn't matter because everyone's argument for why the Chiefs were going to win was simply Mahomes, a quarterback advantage. That's it. But what the Eagles showed is that it does not matter necessarily who is the better quarterback if you have the better team.
When you got a great defensive line.
Exactly. An unstoppable defensive line, a phenomenal offensive line, a great running back who obviously he didn't have the best Super Bowl. He didn't need to. but a phenomenal running back that was a big part of why we were there. So it's a team sport, and that's kind of what the Eagles showed in this Super Bowl, is that it's the ultimate team
I'm
game.
willing to go 1 week. Like, am I asking for
fine.
too much? 1 week.
For 1 week, I'll say Jalen Hurts is the best.
He is the best quarterback in the game.
Fine, Jalen Hurts is the best.
He's the Super Bowl champion. He is the guy. 1 week. That's all
Fine,
I'm asking.
I'll give you 1 week. Give me Hurts over Mahomes. Give me Hurts over Allen.
Josh
give me
Allen.
Hurts over Lamar Jackson.
Hang on. Let me pitch this back to you, because with that, Mahomes is in a different stratosphere.
Yeah.
Mahomes is Mahomes. And now we'll have plenty of time to nitpick Mahomes, but still, he's in a different world. We'll give that to him. I just want to say this, like, for the people that want to say Lamar Jackson on this Eagles team, it's a rout. It's over. Josh Allen on this Eagles team, it's a rout. It's over. Like, done. They're both winning the Super Bowl. I can't get there. And I'll tell you why. Because, and this is where the conversation gets a little bit more, wide open, because I think we're not talking about just athleticism. We're not talking about stats. We're talking about a culmination of everything, of what it takes to win in this league, to understand that position, to make the right calls at the line of scrimmage, to be in tune with your play caller. Like, I just don't see Lamar Jackson coming into a new offense and not making those same mistakes that he's made year after year in the postseason.
What I'll give you is that
Josh Allen too. Josh Allen's weakness, right? If I could be critical of Josh Allen, who I loved his season, it didn't look like he's the sharpest cat at the line of scrimmage. Now, I don't know what he's able to do. I don't know if he's able to audible. I don't know what their audibles. I don't know what their schemes are. But one of the strengths, according to Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, who have both said, Jalen Hurts is an ace at the line of scrimmage. An ace. You don't hear that about Lamar Jackson. You don't hear that about Josh Allen. And that's all. And what happened at the end of that game against Kansas City Chiefs? Granted, they hid the blitz, but he wasn't anything prepared for what was coming his way. And then on top of it, let's talk about what else Jalen Hurts does better than those guys. And it's got to be rolled up into the conversation of the best quarterback. It's what he does with his legs. Josh Allen's fantastic. Lamar Jackson's incredible. But when it comes to the tough yard, that tush push, the brotherly shove, Josh Allen runs it pretty good, but he got stopped in an AFC Championship game. You think Jalen Hurts was getting stopped there?
A few things. First, as pertains to the tush push, that's as much about the offensive line and those guys up front.
Okay, but you're telling me the Buffalo Bills offensive line are a bunch of slubs?
No, but it's not the Eagles. Like, the Eagles offensive line is what makes that play as great as it is, along with the quarterback. What I will give you.
Okay. I mean, I can get there, but it's at the end of the day, Buffalo Bills, they don't have a bunch of schlubs. They were able to run the football. They're able to pick up those tough yards.
Of course.
And they failed in that moment. Jalen Hurts is not failing in that moment.
What I'll give you is that Hurts is, according to all the best quarterbacks who ever played this game, who are now analysts now evaluating the game, Hurts is phenomenal checking at the line of scrimmage, and has been all season and was in the Super Bowl. And I'm not sure, and that's IQ, like you said. I'm not saying Allen doesn't have that.
No.
But that's IQ, and Hurts has been phenomenal. He took that over completely from Kelsey this year.
He deserves the credit on that. Yep.
So that's something that Hurts has an advantage over. That's not some intangible skill like arm talent or how fast you are,
but it's got
how much you can evade the pocket, all that
in
stuff.
the conversation if we're going to have this.
That's why I'm giving you. And the other thing I'll give you that is the number one thing with Jalen Hurts, and this isn't something that's like really describable. You can't quantify it, but Jalen Hurts is clutch. Like some guys are just have the clutch gene, and some dudes don't. Like Kobe Bryant had the clutch gene. You didn't have to look at the statistics. You had to look at his mentality and his play late in games, in the most important games of his career. And Kobe Bryant had that. Jalen Hurts has the clutch gene. I'm not necessarily saying Lamar Jackson doesn't or Josh Allen, those guys don't.
Yeah.
But Hurts absolutely does. And in the biggest games of his career, throughout his entire NFL tenure, he has come up big every single time. The Super Bowl 2 years ago, the Super Bowl this week, the NFC Championship game a few weeks ago, the NFC Championship game against the Niners, where he didn't have to do too much, but a few years ago, all the biggest moments of his career, he has been phenomenal. That's clutch, and it's not something you can quantify. But Jalen Hurts has a clutch gene that I'm not sure Lamar Jackson necessarily has. I think Josh Allen does, because he's been awesome in those games against the Chiefs. He's just been one play too short. But Jalen Hurts, indisputably, So does Mahomes, of course, because we've
Right,
seen
well,
what he does late in
he's just in a
games.
different world.
Yeah, he's in a different
He was like
category
6 of 6 or something
Yeah.
like that heading into that game, like with a
in
game
one
on the
score
line.
games.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
he won
converting.
17 consecutive one score games. That's
Yeah.
most NFL history. It's ridiculous. But what I'm saying is Hurts has that clutch gene too, and that's something that a lot of guys you're not taking into account when you're making a top 5, top 10 list. But that's really important when you're trying to win Super Bowls.
I'm right there with you. And look, that barroom conversation is always there. It's the quarterbacks, fantasy football. I get it, and I look forward to getting more into that in a couple weeks. But for right now, he is top dog. And if you try and debate this via Twitter, you're going to step on a rake. That's all I will say about